Well, as many of you know, if you follow my Instagram, AlexGNYC1, thanks to Leros Limo and all that, we were able to get up to Saratoga Springs for the 158th running of the Belmont Stakes, where I met my next guest, Amber Farkas, who is deep into the horse race world. Amber, thanks for joining my podcast here at OneLegUpAlex Media.
Thank you for having me.
So talk to me. Your story is very intriguing, and you've been around horses what your entire life, and just give us a little backstory into your role in horse racing and how you got into it.
Well, I started horses when I was 18 months old. My mother took me for a pony ride down in Florida, and when she tried to take me off of the horse, apparently I screamed my lungs out and like held on to the mane. So I was hooked ever since then. And up until I met my ex-husband, I never had much to do with horse racing. And he's the one who got me into it. He got me into breeding, racing, sales, all of it, and I just fell in love with the whole industry.
And now you're in it. So tell us where you're based out of and what you do, because I believe you're out of Florida, right? So tell us what horse racing is like in Florida, because I know it's a huge draw. It's like it's a popular sport down in Florida, is it not?
It is a very popular sport in Florida. I'm not down there anymore, but I used to go to the Ocala breeder sales. I used to go to Hollywood, to Gulfstream Park, and of course Tampa Bay Downs. We had a few horses that ran there as well.
Now, were you owning, training, or what was your role?
So what I did, we had horses between my ex-husband and I. We also did breeding. We did pin hooking a lot, and I did rehab and retraining. So when they would come off the track, either with an injury or if they were just done with their racing career, I would get them and either rehab them in my indoor for the winter, or I would retrain them for their forever homes, either hunters or dressage.
Amazing. And so, when you talk about homing them, I think of the I guess the studs and all that. Did you work on that, or not so much in that area?
We had a stallion at one point. His name was Neck and Neck. He won the Indiana Downs Derby, and unfortunately, he passed away before the first year of breeding season could be over.
And how is that like? I mean, just to welcome a new horse into the world is a special moment. I mean, they walk pretty early on, don't they?
Yes, it's 11 months gestational period, and I used to sometimes sleep in my barn in the foaling barn just to make sure that, I wasn't going to miss anything, or I was on my iPad 24/7 looking at the cameras. And I don't, there's no other feeling like it. The first time they stand up on those little weak legs and their first nicker towards their mother, when they start nursing, like, I miss it so much.
Amber, when do you know? Because I mean, these horses that run are what 3 year olds in the Triple Crown. So you guys have to know pretty early on. Okay, this horse is going to be a contender, right? But what age?
Two, they start running when they're two, and they have to win a graded stakes race to be eligible for the Kentucky Derby.
And so, tell us any success stories that you guys had. I mean, you've been in this. So, any success stories?
So, my ex husband, just before him and I met, he had the record breaking filly down at OBS sales for $1.9 million. Her name was Inheritance. She was a Tappet, and she a beautiful mare. But I have, oh, also, we had a gelding, Big Dollar Bill. He broke one of the track records at Keeneland, and I believe he still holds it.
These auctions, just so people know, sometimes they're painted as inhumane and all that. But how do they make sure they get in the right hands? If that makes sense.
Well, there is a minimum. You cannot sell a horse for under $1,000, either privately or through these auctions. Unless you know exactly where it's going, you're not supposed to give the horse away. And kill buyer prices are usually around 500. So we do that just to make sure that they don't end up in a kill buyer's hands.
Well, that is good to know. Now, you said you were on the horse at 18 months. Did you ever, as you kept growing up, want to be a jockey or want to be that?
Actually, I did. When I was little, I dreamed of being a jockey. And then I grew to be 5'10".
That's amazing. Well,
That was a question.
that's true, but I tell you, I've seen a lot of female jockeys, and they're on the rise a little bit more, right?
Yeah, they are. They're doing amazing, and we welcome them into the sport. I love to see it.
I guess I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you, being in the horse world, seeing what Sherry DeVoe's done at the Kentucky and then the Belmont. I mean, what a historic run. And I think they're going to keep going through the Travers and beyond. What do you think? But firstly, from Sherry's perspective, about Sherry, what are your thoughts on her accomplishments this year?
I think it's wonderful. I think it's wonderful that a woman finally won the Kentucky Derby, and I wish we could have seen what he would have done in the full Triple Crown because I think that we would have had another contender and possibly for a Grand Slam, depending on what he does in the Breeders' Cup.
Well, that's definitely going to be the next step after the Travers for sure. Now, you go to Saratoga a lot, you say. So talk about that life because I do. I've been up there a few times for like a day trip and all that, but it does seem like a nice town to just stay in for the whole summer. Is that right?
It is. We used to go up multiple times during the summer because we usually always had horses up there, and we would go watch the horses work in the morning. Um, then we would go out to venues, and it's a very beautiful, very horse oriented community, and everyone's usually very pleasant, and we're all there for the same reason.
Amber, and I know that you're an adaptive person as well. So you've had a lot of things over the years that have transpired, and now you have a beautiful emotional support pup as well. But talk about how being around the track, being around horses, has helped you heal through the challenges of life.
Well, I would say that the most important time that a horse has helped me was when I was in elementary school. Um, I had a few thoughts of committing suicide due to abuse, and if it wasn't for being able to be around the horses, I don't know if I'd still be standing here today.
I tell you, to even pet the nose of a horse is just a very there's almost a kinship there, and that horse make sure they're connected to them just by that petting of the nose. I mean, the fact they let you do that is always a sign that they're comfortable around you, and they want to be friends, I guess, right?
Yeah, the face, it can be a very vulnerable spot on a horse. Usually we tell people to, rub the neck first, but I love their velvety noses. And I mean, just to be able to sit there and, have a horse place its whole head on your shoulder and just kind of cuddle you, or, like I did many times up at my farm. I used to lay down in the stalls when the horses would lay down and just sit there and cuddle them. And I can't think of anything better.
I know people forget that they do lay down in the stalls a lot of the time, and then to watch them get up and experience too, I guess. But yeah, horses do lay down a lot of the time, right?
They do. The myths that they die if they lay down or that they're dead are definitely wrong.
What do you say to those that sort of try and say, well, this sport's this, that, and the other? I mean, there's a lot of critics of the sport, but what do you have to say to them? Because I think horse racing is a fabric of our country. It's been here forever, right? So we shouldn't take it away.
So, speaking from my farm, those horses lived better than I did. I imported their hay from Montana. They had the best feeds from Kentucky. I did only the best for them. And all I can say is these horses that are in racing, I mean, not all of them, because you do come across a bad egg every now and then, but these horses live better than most humans. They are very well taken care of. The staff of each trainer is very devoted to them. The owners love them. I think that people need to get their head out of the sand and actually see that instead of all the negative.
Absolutely. And I know the media tries to portray it with, well, here's how many horses died at this track or that track. I mean, it's unfortunately part of the game, I guess I could say, right? But at the same time, it's not a drastic number, right? It just they make it seem that way.
That's because they focus only on the negative. But people still need to remember that these are athletes, just like humans, and it's a 1,200 pound animal.
Yep.
If that horse did not want you on its back, or it did not to run or want to run a race or come out of the starting gate, you would be launched sky high, and
Yep.
that horse would be trotting off just as happy as can be.
That
But these horses love the sport. They love to run. And you can even tell that when a horse wins, they know it, because coming back to the winner's circle, they just have that proud, I did good look on their face.
and their ears perk up and all that. That's
Oh,
for sure.
yeah.
And it's amazing with Golden Tempo. I mean, look at him, how he bounded back from last place both times to win it. That's an athlete right there. And of course, Jose Ortiz doing an amazing job as jockey. Which leads me to my next question, Amber. When picking jockeys, how do these trainers, what's their thought process? I mean, we've seen the dynamic duos of Johnny V and Todd Pletcher and Bob Baffert and, uh, Smith, who won the with Justify in 2018. I mean, you see these regular pairings. How does a jockey get picked by a trainer, and what do you guys look for?
So, there are a lot of dynamic duos that go on, and those jockeys know the trainers very well. They know what the horse needs, either come from behind, wait in the middle, or be out in the front the whole time. And there's a lot of communication that goes on between that. And the owners that pick jockeys, they have to know that the jockey's a right fit for the horse. So, we'll have them breeze the horse maybe a couple of times before we pick them if they're available and in the same location. And, you can see how the jockey and the horse, work together, how they react to each other. And you can tell if it's going to be a good fit or not.
And I'll tell you, I'd say the dynamic duo this year, and probably for the future, is going to be Sherry DeVoe and Jose Ortiz. I mean, that's pretty dynamic right now. Now, some people look at these races right from the Kentucky. They don't really look at the entry races into the Kentucky Derby, like the Wood Memorial in New York, and I think the Kentucky Oaks or something like that down in Louisville and all that. These jockeys predominantly are with their horse through that stage as well, right? I mean, they don't switch jockeys just for the Kentucky Derby.
No, no. The jockeys will go around from track to track depending on what season it is, and they do usually try to stick with the trainer that uses them the most, where they feel that they're going to be ridden the most.
Now, what I love is because you hear these different horses. Well, this one was bred from the Majestic Curlin, and all these other famous horses that have won. Their kids, I guess, go on to race. I mean, there's a lot of that, but I only find that people who are in the horse racing world appreciate it more than the outside world, right? I mean, people don't really understand these legacies go on forever. It seems like.
It is a legacy for the stallion to carry on, but also there's a lot of work that goes into the breeding process. You have to look at how the bloodlines between the mare and the stallion meet up. Is it going to be a turf horse? You need a turfy mare and a turfy stallion. Is it going to be, dirt, long distance, sprinter? I mean, there's a lot of factors to consider in when you're looking at breeding, not just lineage.
And how is that process? I mean, it's not like two humans that meet. I mean, is there some kind of connection that you try and make with the horses before mate? Like, how does that work?
So, breeding season is from about February until May, sometimes the first part of June. Don't quote me on that. Um, but you bring the mare, and if it's got a foal by its side, you bring both of them to the breeding shed, and you have teaser ponies to get the mare ready. You also have to look for a follicle. We usually want a 10 follicle, and then afterwards, after they get bred, we look for them to ovulate. These are all internal ultrasounds. Um, and then it's also just, pure like horses' past performances. So you want to make sure that, like, if you've got a really turfy stallion, that you have a mare that's produced turf runners.
Okay.
If the mare is that old, sometimes you get a maiden mare and this is their first breeding season. So you want to look at her past. Who was the stallion that was bred to her? What did she do on the track? Where did she excel at? I mean,
I,
there's a lot. We would spend hours
wow.
looking through stallions days and hours, my ex-husband and I trying to pick the right pair.
Has analytics seeped into horse racing? This sounds like a bit of analytical, but has analytics seeped into horse racing more and more? I mean, is there still, all right, we're going to run this horse based on instinct, or is it all stat based now?
You really want to go by stats. You really want to go by bloodlines. Um, there's definitely of what would you call it in science where there's a formula.
Formula, yeah.
There's definitely a formula that goes into it, and you don't just do it on a whim.
Mm. People also don't realize that when a horse has done its career, it's not dead. It just actually goes out and grazes, or it goes out to pasture, as they say. And so those 20 plus years could be a really great life for them after the track, right? I mean, they live for a long
Yes, they can live to be in their 30s, depending on how they're taken care of, and barring any health conditions or anything. But these horses, when they're done at the track, the trainers try their best to match them with a forever home or someone who will retrain them and be responsible about where they're sold off to.
Now, let me ask you this. Your closest you've ever gotten to a horse, or a horse that made the most impact on you and lingers in your mind almost every day?
So that would actually be the horse that I had after I started getting into racing. His name was Gridley Here. He was bred by Patricia up in New York, and I got him from Kenny McPeak, and he was $1,000, and he turned into the best dressage horse that I had, and he ended up foundering on me, which it devastated me. It just about killed me. We were able to get him to come back from it, thank you to Kentucky Root and Riddle, and I kept him until I had to sell the farm because of COVID.
Do you know how he's doing today, or is he still around? Or
I haven't I really haven't wanted to know because if something happened to him, it would still kill me.
all right. Um, for me, it was Funny Side because that was one of the first horses that got me into this whole Naira world and the jockey's room and all that. And before they sent him out to Louisville, I got to sit on him one time before at the Belmont Stable, thanks to Barkley Tag, and so he was
Wow.
one of the ones. And then Big Brown was also part of my world a little bit. I mean, these are just they're amazing horses to watch and to watch run for sure. But you talk about dressage, and man, oh man, it's an Olympic sport. I feel like people don't even realize that.
Yeah.
So, what makes an Olympian dressage jockey? Are they jockeys? What do you call them?
We're just riders. The good thing about dressage and the horse world in the Olympics is there's no age cutoff. There are wonderful riders that, go into the Olympics even in their 60s. It's a sport that's never going to die out, and the people who love it and cherish it, they put their whole hearts into it. And to be able to get into the Olympics, you have to start getting national titles. So, in order to get onto the dressage team in the US, you have to win nationals at a Grand Prix level, and you have to have a really good score.
Now it looks like to me as dressage is more about their gait than the running, right? So is there an art to that? I mean, it looks like it's a bit of an art to get these horses to move a certain way.
Well, dressage is a Spanish word for training. It's the basis of what all the other disciplines come off of. If you can't do your flat work, you have no business jumping. You have no business doing anything else. It's truly where you get a connection with your horse and they become your dance partner and you move in sync with them like you're one. It's like you're married to them. They almost become more to you than your husband does.
Not that they retired dressage, but is there like a connection between the horse racing world and the dressage horses? Are any of these former runners, or are they all completely different, bred completely differently?
Well, I've never seen a thoroughbred make it into the Olympics yet, but they definitely are and can be former thoroughbreds, former racehorses. And that was what I did part of the time, was take these horses off the track, give them a layoff, and then start retraining them for their forever career.
Any, I mean, you rode, but anybody that you look up to in the dressage world that inspired you to keep going?
Yes, it was after I had my farm, and I actually bought this giant gray horse from Peter Nordlander in North Carolina, and his name was Just Ted. And he's an amazing rider. He's an amazing trainer. He was my coach for a while, and he really brought me a long way.
Wow. And tell us about the horse. Like, what was the interaction like? Did you get to ride him a lot, or what was his?
So I tried to ride him every day, giving him a day off during the week. Um, he was a big horse. He was 18 hands, which means he was 6 foot at the top of the withers. And he was just a big lover. He was a prankster. He used to grab the wheelbarrow in the middle of the aisle and pull it towards his stall so he
That
could have an all you can eat buffet.
horses are smart, and they're also very personable. They have a personality that people don't really recognize, right?
They all have a different personality, and that's why when you go to train them, even in the thoroughbred world, you have to look at the horse. How does this horse want to run? How is it going to be trained the best way to where you actually get inside of your horse's head? There's a million ways to ask a horse to back up, and you just have to find what works for that horse.
Hmm. And I feel like we get the personality more so. We see it in the public eye at the gate, whether they want to go in or not. That's really the big moment. They're like, all right, we'll go in or we're not going to go in. They make that decision very fast, actually.
Yes.
And that's on the jockey to calm them down. And most of them do a great job calming them. I've seen some jump off the horse so they can ride them around a little bit, walk them around a little bit, then you get back on. But yeah, these horses have personality, and I understand that you guys get a lot of laughs from these horses, right? Like they're funny animals.
They are. I had a horse, I forget. I remember we had him up at Saratoga and we went to visit him. And he decided that my dress needed to be pulled down. And he tried to flash the trainer of that barn because he grabbed a hold of the top of my dress and just.
That's funny. But they're also they vocal? I mean, are some of these horses very vocal, or are some of them in the thoroughbred world not so much vocal? Like what's the talking like?
So I remember when I used to work for Jimmy Corrigan, I rode for him. I kind of did a little bit of barn management. I basically did a lot for him, and I was like a jack of all trades. And every morning that I would get there at 4:30, these horses would start whinnying. They knew my truck, and they knew that I was coming to feed them, so they'd all stick their heads out, and that barn would be very loud for a little bit.
Wow, that had to feel good though, right? That they were excited to see you.
It did. I loved going in there every morning and getting my morning whinnies. Like, it was awesome.
They also seem to have a bit of a soul to them, right? Like just petting them, you could sense the soul. And they say if you look into the horse's eyes, you could tell. You could tell their soul from that too.
Yes. And they're very sensitive creatures. But yeah, the eye tells all.
And I've seen some of them shake off their jockey on the track at sometimes even before, or when they come off the track winning, they also like move their head around because they're just so excited. I've seen that too. So it's a myriad of emotions with these horses for sure.
Yes.
I want to also say we should pause for a second and talk about the horrible, devastating fire in Saratoga Springs. It was just so weird because we were just there 2 weeks ago, and then 2 weeks later, this tragedy happens. A, did you know anybody in those stables? And B, how does the horse racing in those tragedies, the horse racing community comes to each other's side in those moment, right? In those moments, right?
Yes, we're all there to support each other. That was a harness barn, so I'm not familiar with anyone that would have been in there, but I can tell you that even the dressage, the pulling, the hunter jumper world. We all know what happened, and our hearts go out to the trainers, the grooms, the owners, anyone that would have been involved, because that is a huge tragedy.
I think 16 horses passed, I believe I read somewhere or something like that. It was
I thought I read 17, but I might be wrong.
just horrible. And so we pray for them and we pray for Naira. And, you know, is there a certain kind of safety protocol that these stables need to follow? I mean, I feel like something like that doesn't just happen. It can happen out of nowhere, but what's the safety protocols, especially when it comes to your barn and your stables?
So I don't let people smoke in my barn. Everything that I have that could be a potential fire hazard is constantly being checked. It's constant maintenance on it. Like uh, my heaters inside, my infrared heaters, all have pilot lights on them. I make sure that those are functioning at the top of their game before I turn them on each winter. I don't leave them on when I'm not in the barn. Um, I make sure that my hay is not wet when I put it away because it can combust.
Hmm.
There's a lot of things, but I know that the thoroughbred barns in Saratoga do have fire suppression systems.
Oh, wow.
And I think more barns should look into getting that because it would save a lot of lives.
A ton of lives, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So we pray for the community. Now, as we're talking about this, on the cultural side, we all say the movie about the Seabiscuit, right? We always say that movie. But any
Yeah.
movie that stands out to you? I mean, when I was a kid, Racing Stripes, because I was around the track, Racing Stripes was a great movie to watch because I was always around that whole energy and all that. It was a great vibe. But for you, what movie stands out, or what cultural moment?
Well, there's two. So when I was younger, The Horse Whisperer,
Yes,
loved Robert Redford, and I just love that movie. It just, I don't know, there's just something about it. I still watch it a lot to this day. But recently I was able to watch 50 to 1, which is about Mind That Bird. And
yeah,
I had my training business started in Kentucky. I actually got to meet the breeder of Mind That Bird. She was in the same bar that I was stabled in.
that
As
was
that hits home a lot because, how many days, how many times do you get to say that you know the breeder of a famous horse that's now a movie?
yeah. You don't see that a lot, so that's pretty special, you know. And then I think of man, there have been in so many stories. How about the filly that won? Was it Rags to Riches? I mean, that was a great story too when she won about
Yes.
all these different storylines and all that. But for me, Seabiscuit was great, and I did like Racing Stripes. I gotta check out 50 to 1 though, because that was recently, wasn't it? I think that was recent.
It came out, I don't know how many years ago, but it is a more recent movie. But I'm actually really glad that they made a movie about it because a lot of people, especially people that aren't in the racing world, do not know about that horse. And that horse was extremely special. He was the first long shot to win the Kentucky Derby.
And he did. And he did. I remember watching it on the big screen. It was quite a comeback for him at 51. So, Amber, this has been great. I want to get. I also understand you do have a disability. So, how has riding been affected by that? If you don't mind me asking, I mean, do you change your techniques differently now to adapt, if you will?
Well, I have PTSD and I have a lot of injuries from horses over the years. And if anything, riding has helped me heal.
Mm.
Being able to have that close connection with something and knowing that it's a true connection because the horse is not going to lie to you. They, they will tell you up front if they got a problem with you. And so it's definitely helped me heal a lot.
And just the patting the horse's head, like what is it? Is it a freeing experience, a freeing feeling from all the ailments you might have when you ride that horse? Is that what you feel?
It is. It is very freeing. It's like you're flying.
Mm.
It's a wonderful feeling, and if you're in tune with that horse and you can just make the slightest little movement and you can get them to change leads, get them to change gaits, it's it's truly a connection that a lot of people miss.
What's the fastest time you've ever had on a horse? Did anybody ever time you around a track? Or
No, I never got timed around the track, but I do have a funny story about that.
okay,
So the fastest that I ever went around a track, I hadn't galloped in years. I galloped when I was like 18 years old down in Ocala, and I had not galloped in years. And when I met my ex-husband, he got me an interview with Ian Wilkes.
hmm.
And I bullshit my way uh into his barn, even though I knew I wasn't in shape and I knew I wasn't ready to be galloping again. And I got run off with by a horse named Desert Rose. I believe she was named Desert Rose. And the outriders had to catch me.
Oh,
So that's the fastest. And it was at Churchill Downs. So I went around the Churchill Downs track at a dead breeze. And so that's definitely the fastest that I was ever on a horse.
I don't know if anybody if it's varies by person, but what kind of protection? Obviously, we all see the helmets and all that, but what other protections do you personally have to stay up on that horse slash, just as precaution?
So we all had to wear vests. So if we came off, that we were protected from impact. Um, but that was it. We basically had helmets on, we had the vest on, and then, whatever boots anyone chose to wear, or, I mean, it was really personal preference on the rest of the outfit, but definitely for galloping, you had to have a vest and a
Our,
helmet.
one of my favorite places to be is the winner's circle. So, have you ever gotten the chance to be in that winner's circle in any capacity?
Yes. So my favorite time in the winner's circle was a horse named Nothing But Flowers. It was one of our fillies, and she came in first place up at Indiana Downs, which is now Indiana Grand. And there is the winner's circle picture with me kissing this horse on the lips with a bunch of people standing next to us. And they said that that had to be the best winner's circle picture that they had ever taken.
Now, I would say you stood out at the crowd at Saratoga. I mean, you just did. When you dress for these events, I mean, what you like dressing up for these kind of events? It seems like you do.
I love it. I love the hats. I love the bright dresses. I just love the fun and the flashy, and you get a chance to stand out at these events. Normally where you would go out in public and not, I mean, you want to stay more like under the radar normally when you go out, but here you have the opportunity to stand out and just really be bold.
Mm-hmm. And that's what you do, and that's what you did, and that's I was like, I gotta see what she's all about. So I'm glad we did meet, and I'm glad we got to hang out at the Belmont Stakes on that Saturday, and
That
hope,
was fun.
hopefully see you at the Travers as well. And you had
Yes.
your pup dressed up as well, and she or he goes with you everywhere, right?
He comes with me everywhere, and he had to have a hat. You don't go to the Belmont, the Kentucky Derby, you have to have a hat. So Christine Moore at Cam Hats made him his own little hat.
That's adorable.
That's where I get all of my hats from, is Cam Hats. She's located in New York, but she attends all the big races, and I think personally that she's the best milliner out there.
To ride these horses, to even just sit on top and be able to jog with them a little bit, that takes athleticism. Do you consider yourself an athlete, and did you play other sports aside from being in the horse race world?
Well, yes, it's definitely very athletic, even dressage or jumping. You have to be in shape for it. A lot of core strength and leg strength. Um, I got into figure skating when I had my thoroughbred farm in Indiana. And, I moved up the ranks in less than a year. It was the year of COVID, and I was able to just move up the ranks really easily, even with 8 months off due to the rinks being shut down. And after that, I teach scuba diving. You have to be in very good shape for that. And currently now, I ski for the U.S. Masters team. And I know I'm a little bit old, but I'm trying to secure myself a spot on the speed division of the U.S. team. I don't guarantee that it'll ever happen, but it's a good goal to have.
Well, keep us posted on that. That would be awesome if you did that. And I guess to wrap things up here, my other question would be, what can horse racing and being in the horse racing world, what has it taught you? What can it teach others if they're interested in joining this world? It's a very competitive world, that is for sure. But there's got to be some gratitude, some reward, some lessons you can learn from being in the business, from being around the horses themselves.
You definitely learn how to kiss people's butts. That is a huge lesson to be learned. Borders, just people that you kind of got to suck up to get what you need. But other than that, like, I mean, being able to foal babies and, having a vet that put a lot of trust in me because he was the only vet in the state, and all the stuff he taught me. He taught me how to do sutures. He taught me how to do ultrasounds and look for follicles, look for an ovulation. Um, he taught me so much, like, that is invaluable.
The myth is, speaking of veterinarians, the myth is like, okay, this horse can't walk on its foot. You got to put him down. That's changing now with technology, though, isn't it?
I don't think that it's ever truly been like that. Vets for years have been able to carry around portable ultrasound machines and portable x-rays. So we always have the opportunity to look to decide what's going to happen. The thing that has changed is the technology and being able to help these horses through the vet hospitals.
Well, tell us more about that because that's interesting.
So with Gridley, my horse that foundered, years back, it would have been a hopeless cause. We would have had to put him down. But, thanks to Root and Riddle, Dr. Ruggles, who is their lameness vet, he did wonders with him. He stayed down there for about a week. And, even though I was nervous and had doubts that nothing was going to be able to help him, he pulled through. And, I can't thank this vet enough. Like, he's invaluable to the horse community.
Well, maybe people will look him up after you mention him here tonight. So that's the goal. All right, Amber, thank you so much for joining me. And I feel like we should go into this further and maybe do some more stuff even at the Travers if I make it up there this year. So hopefully we see you again soon. But thank you for this introductory interview. I really liked it.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. And I would love to do something else up at the Travers or in the future.
Amber Farkas, thanks for joining us about your experience and your life around the horse racing world.
Thank you.